All right. So today is episode number 119. Today is September the 13th. And as always, we are continuing on this journey where we use A Course in Miracles as the tool, the assistance that helps us navigate the ascension process. And as those of you who've been listening to me for a while, who have been following the teachings as I share them, the ascension process is nothing more than recognizing that we came from the highest frequency before we incarnated, and we for thousands of years, humanity has been dropping into the lower density of the ego, contracting ourselves into a small idea of who we are. And Dr. David Hawkins gave us a beautiful chart. This is his chart, utilized in or shared to us through his book, Power versus Force. Humanity has descended into low vibration. He uses the calibration system where the lowest possible vibration is 20. This is when we are totally, completely in shame. We are miserable. We are so angry with God. How could you have done this to me? We experience the emotion of humiliation. We are a failure. We just can't do anything right. And of course, our process is through anger, and I mean, there's just nothing else that we can do except to be so balled up into our own little small idea of who we are. This is where we operate in the realms of depression, of self-loathing, and these are the places where we are completely out of touch with the truth of who we are. So the ascension process, this is what A Course in Miracles brought into my life. Well, I shouldn't say Course in Miracles, the power of awareness. That's why I call this the power of awareness, the work that was given to me by the consciousness of Jesus to teach because it's what I had to learn. So I spent about 5 years teaching about the power of awareness. And in the power of awareness, what was given me to share is that all of humanity goes on a journey. Every single one of us is a soul that chooses to incarnate. We go on a journey. And when I teach the power of awareness and I show the soul's journey, it really is a circle. And I'm getting a poster made of the circle so you can see visually what that means. But we can do a circle here. We come from the highest frequency and we descend into the lowest idea of who we are. And then the journey takes us up back to the truth of who we are. So Ascension with A Course in Miracles is what this is called, because what happens when two or more of us gather in a place of love, in a place of gentleness and compassion, to share, to teach and learn from one another, what happens is that I am a transmitter, just as all of us are. As I transmitted, or let me say more accurately, Source transmits through us. The truth of who we are transmits truth through us. The love that is within us is transmitted out without fear, without blocks, without judgments, without any kind of a veil, without any kind of illusory separation. It is just pureness being shared. So after 5 years of teaching the power of awareness and taking people through that workshop, I was going through that workshop. Every time I taught it, I learned something new. I spent more time in those workshops going, note to self, note to self, note to self. It was for me. And I was just so grateful that consciousness, all that isness, used me as a portal, as a vehicle to bring that information forward. So that information helped me understand A Course in Miracles when it was time for me to begin to study it. Because I had heard, Laina, is A Course in Miracles based on, is the power of awareness based on A Course in Miracles? And I would tell people, I don't even know what A Course in Miracles is. For 5 years, I really didn't know what it was. At one point, I thought that is that what Marianne Williamson wrote? And then I realized, no, she wrote about A Course in Miracles. She did not bring to us A Course in Miracles. She was a transmitter of a message called A Return to Love, which is what we are. We are love. We forget that we are love, and then we return to love. So a wonderful title for that book. And what I like to do here through these transmissions is work our way slowly through the teachings of A Course in Miracles and then applying them to everyday life. If we don't apply Course in Miracles to everyday life, our heart does not fully open. When we take A Course in Miracles and we keep it in the head and we can recite the lessons, when we can recite, I don't know what anything is for, or my defenselessness, my safety lies, and nothing real can be threatened. I mean, beautiful things to talk about, to memorize, but when they're not integrated, when they don't come to the level of the heart and extend it outwardly, it's just information that we have inside of ourselves, and it doesn't complete the journey. The journey of the information is when the walk and the talk are in alignment. That means that you are living these transmissions. You are living not Laina's transmissions. You're living the truths that have been transmitted to us through so many different teachers, through so many different teachings. For thousands upon thousands of years, we have had amazing beings who, just like you, just like me, chose to become transmitters of truth. And to be a transmitter of the truth, you don't always have to believe it. You don't always have to apply it in your own life. As a matter of fact, Helen Schuckman, that was the receiver, the transmitter of A Course in Miracles. She is the person who channeled this information. She used to say, I know that the information in A Course in Miracles is true, but I don't believe it. Look at that dichotomy. She knew at the deepest level of her heart that it was true, because when it came through her, she could feel the truth, the certainty, the love that was coming through her in the sharing of the words. But her mind did not believe it. Her egoic mind blocked her from being able to apply what was being taught as truth for her. She could share it, but she couldn't receive it as application in her own life. And of course, that was a statement that she said early on. And then she had her own experiences and she wrote about them, and transformation began to happen. And who knows, maybe Helen, after her transmission or transition, has incarnated and is one of the young teachers of A Course in Miracles, because there's a lot of them out there that when they find A Course in Miracles, they begin to share the power that is in A Course in Miracles. Because young people, they get this stuff right away. Why? Because they didn't fall so far into the density. They're higher in frequency. And you can tell a young person, because they're certain, they're clear, but to know that they're really living in that frequency, they're loving, they're kind, they're gentle. And yes, they can be very honest, which is part of being a high vibrating being, is you speak your truth. But it is a truth that is spoken with love, as Jesus taught us, as so many other beings have taught us. So we didn't meet last week because I had some friends in town, and that was a lot of fun. Got a little break to go play in the mountains with them. But we are still inside of chapter 30 in the text of A Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles has 3 parts. The text, which is like the book that you study when you go to school. Then the second part is like the lessons that is given to you by the teacher, and you do the assignments and the homework, and that's the work that you do on a daily basis. And then there is the manual for teachers, which is, what the teachers have that the students don't look at, to let them know, their role as a teacher and how to teach. So the Course in Miracles basically has that. It is a course in mind training. And when you dedicate at least 1 year to the course, there's so much that we get to receive from it. I've done these lessons many, many times. Some people only do them once and they feel like that's it. But I can assure you that those who do the lessons again and again and again always get something new, because as we're doing the lessons at this level, you can only see so much. At this level, you can only see so much. At this level, you can only see so much. At this level, you can see a lot more than you could at this level, because the ego is a block. It's a like a filter that doesn't allow everything to come in at once, because if it allows all the truth to come in at once, poof, you would be up here immediately. But we're on a journey. So it takes time, and we go through the process of step by step by step, like we do grades in school. First grade to second grade to third grade. Most people don't skip more than usually 1 year. I know I skipped third grade, or was it third? Yes, third grade. And but some people might skip 2 years. Some people can go to college when they're 12, 13 years old because they are prepared. But the average person goes through those 12 years of schooling and then goes on to 4 more years, or possibly even 2 or 6 more beyond that. So Course in Miracles is training our mind at the pace that we can handle the shifting of our perceptions. And that's what's key about the Course in Miracles, is to the degree that you receive what it is telling you and apply it, is to the degree that you are able to change your mind. And I wasn't able to change my mind about a lot of things instantaneously. I was given in a beautiful, beautiful experience in 2007 that today, all those years later, I am still feeling openings because of that experience in 2007. I was able to receive the entire experience in a period of 45 minutes, but I went then into my everyday life, and then the beliefs that I had, the ideas and perceptions that I held as true, took years to let go of. So, for example, I used to believe that I needed to have a partner. I couldn't be alone. It took me years to move through that to the place of accepting not only that I'm not alone. I've never been alone. We are all one. There is only oneness. So how can you be alone when you're one with all that is? And I could say that for a while, but then I was definitely open to having a partner. And then I was open to having other partners after that. And now I don't need a partner. I don't seek a partner. That is not necessary in my life for me to feel oneness with all that is. Would I enjoy that? Absolutely. That would be fun, but not because I hold a belief that I can't be alone and there's something wrong with me if I'm alone. All those sayings, all those movies that I watched, all those articles that I read in magazines like Cosmopolitan, Mary Claire, whatever it was, that, there's something wrong with you if you end up going into your older years alone. That the only way you can be alone is if you are a widow or a widower. And it took me a while to move through those beliefs, through the beliefs that government has, that I'm supposed to listen to the government, and that is who determines what I get and can't do. Took me years to move through those beliefs about having to follow what I'm being told by the outside. I had created idols, movie stars, musicians, that they were up there, famous people, billionaires, they were up there and they had achieved something that I hadn't down here. So I used to use the net worth as a definition of self-worth. It took me years to move through letting go of those things so that I could be happy without having a massive bank account, having big, lots of zeros next to my name on my bank statement. It took me a long time to let go of needing false safety from the outside and accepting that what I am is non-physical energy. It took a while. It was a process to get to the point that I know I am not this body that you see. I am the consciousness that animates the body that you see. So my alignment has been with my consciousness, with the inner beingness of who I am, that is not just in this body, it's what is all around me. And I, as Laina, am a point through which that all that isness expresses itself uniquely as me, as it expresses uniquely as you, uniquely as the trees out there, uniquely as my dog, uniquely as the clouds, uniquely as a planet, a star, a moon. So consciousness is expressing itself through every single thing that appears to be solidified for the purpose of experiences. And then everything in between that is not solid, because there are many beings that we don't see because they haven't taken physical form. But when you begin to experience the all that isness, and you expand beyond the little mind that is contracted and sees and has to see something to believe that it is true, to realizing that you are the consciousness that decides to, because you know that everything that you believe becomes manifested. That shift from outer world informs me to the inner world is what creates the outer world. That takes time. And you have to be prepared for that kind of a journey. And those who don't drop into the lower densities, they know that, and they struggle in this world where, you know, their parents are low vibration, are trying to pull them down into conforming and doing things a certain way, in society and government and all of that, medical systems, education system, religious systems pull us down so that we begin to do what this section is all about: create idols, create something external that has more power over us. So we are conditioned into forgetting that power is within us. And then little by little by little, we abdicate power to mother, father, teacher, preacher, government, media, external things. And the journey that we are being prepared for through A Course in Miracles is to train our mind to little by little let go of power outside and bring it back inside. And even though you could do the lessons in a year, it is through the repetition of these lessons at different levels of consciousness that I see the biggest changes. I have lots of people who through the years have studied with me, and they do the class once. Oh, they're done. They got it. They're on to something else because the ego is seeking something outside of them. But when you can sit with the course and you read a little bit of it each day, all it does is it reminds you of truth. And not everybody is going to have the course bring them into full ascension. Some people are going to have different teachings that will take them there, and that's perfectly okay. But while we're still seeking for something else outside of us, oh, this teacher, this teaching, that thing, then that means that we haven't allowed one teaching to assist us in really finding our truth. And there are so many paths, but they all lead to the same place. And A Course in Miracles helps us understand, again, if we apply the teachings, that there's nothing outside of us. So as we have been in chapter 30 for a while now, and it's titled The Beginning, we are in section number 3, which is Beyond All Idols. What this is attempting to show us is that we have projected our power outside of us because we have been conditioned that way. From the moment that we incarnate, we are pulled down into the density that mother, father, teacher, preacher have power over us. They know better. The boss knows better. The spouse knows better. The parent knows better. One of the biggest lies we've ever been told is that our parents know better. And one of the biggest lies that we think is true when we become parents and we think we know better, or grandparents and we know better, because those who are closest to the truth, meaning operate with less conditioning, are the ones who actually know better because they understand truth. And of course, we get conditioned by those who raise us. We take on their fears. We take on their need for control. We take on their aggressiveness or their passivity, their victimhood or their bullying. We take that on as children. All children do that. And to a certain degree, we operate from those personalities that we accepted. Well, if mom did it, then I should do it. Or if dad did it, then I should do it. Or if mom did it, I'm not going to do it, because it operates in same or opposite. We then operate from egoic patterns that are learned from the outside. And believe it or not, when you don't like your parents, when you don't like the government, when you don't like your teachers, you don't like your boss, you don't like your spouse, you are literally expressing an aspect of them in the way that you behave, because you begin to do unto others what you didn't like being done unto you, which is why Jesus told us that we have to begin to do to others what we would like done unto us. So there is so much that is part of this journey of peeling back the layers, and it's primarily psychology, learning to reclaim the truth that we were born with, little by little getting comfortable with being who we truly are and letting go of being who we got conditioned to be. Yes, when we wanted to be just like them, and also when we wanted to be unlike them, because we take on those energetic imprints. So this section 3, Beyond All Idols, is to help us understand that we have a function to play here. And the function that we have is the one that God gave us. So God didn't tell us that we needed to worship this person, that we were here to worship money, that we were here to worship status, that we needed any of those things to be safe. God created us totally safe in its mind, in its consciousness, in its imagination. We were made in the image of a creator who imagined, who is a magi, who is a magician. If you take all these words and you break them down, you begin to see that a magician is a creator of illusions, of infinite possibilities. And when you begin to realize that that's who you are, as a magician, as an infinite creator, created by God to create like God, except for one thing. Course in Miracles is really clear. There is only one difference between us and God, and that is that God created us. We didn't create God. So we need to put ourselves in the right order and give all glory, all power to God, because that's where it comes from. But once you accept that you are made to create and God's will is for you to have fun while you create, then there has to be a humbleness. There has to be a gratitude for the creative source that loves us, that doesn't punish anybody, that does not judge anybody, but rather has given us all the ability to create whatever we want to create. Some people want to create density. Some people want to create not so dense. Some people want to create in the light. Some people want to create beyond the physical form and create in realms that are unseen to the physical eyes, because we're not trained to see that. We are actually trained not to see what is unseen, especially because they tell us that, oh, it's evil, it's voodoo, it's whatever. So the mind has to be reprogrammed. But when you operate with awareness that you and God are one, that you and the creative source are one, you begin to understand the absolute amazingness of what has been given to each and every one of us. And it is the ability to imagine anything that you desire. But when you imagine things with the ego, you imagine in a selfish way. It's always going to be service to self. But when we imagine with God, when we imagine with love, then everything that we imagine is in service to the greater good of all. And I've got to tell you, I had to work through my beliefs because I did everything for me. I thought I did everything for my family. I thought I did everything, for the people that I love, but that's not true. That was a bunch of BS. I did everything for me. And when we get honest that we are selfishly oriented when we operate from our ego, then it makes sense why it takes a while for us to move through the conditioning that has us do things for the greater good. And I'm going to tell you, when you begin to think about the greater good, what is really remarkable is you begin to become a portal that brings in a consciousness of deservability for everybody. You begin to activate a compassion that you had no idea you had within you. Right now, as we operate in this world of form, and we're watching disasters, and we're watching wars, and we're watching suffering all over the place, if you sit down as one who knows you're one with all that is, and you begin to say, I know that I am a creative source. I am generating love through my awareness, my attention on this situation that is happening, whether it be the fires in Maui, whether it be the children that are trafficked, whether it be the hurricanes or whatever is happening. And you take it upon yourself to claim the truth of who you are, one with all that is. They're playing the roles in Maui or in the hurricane or the earthquake or the war. You stay right here, clear that you're one with them there, and you begin to state the truth that we are all powerful beings, that everybody will be able to receive the guidance that they need, the help, the assistance, when you sincerely do unto others as you would like them to do unto you, not to put yourself in their shoes of suffering, but to put yourself in their shoes of remembering that they are powerful. You literally are activating something in them, because we are sending ripples of frequency. It's a resonance at the highest frequency that states you deserve love, you are powerful, you have the ability to access it. In their fear, in their worry, in their maybe confinement, they may not think that they can, But if you send those ripples in the field of consciousness that we're in, they will receive it. And as a matter of fact, we made agreements with all of the beings that are suffering who enter into density. We made an agreement that those who remember the truth, we would remind them of their truth. We don't have to say it to them. We don't have to be in front of them to tell them that. But if we know that we are one, we're reminding ourselves of the very truth that we're here to experience. And that is that as loving beings, we were created to experience joy, to experience happiness, to experience expansion. And if we were not taught that by those who pulled us into density because they didn't know it to teach us anything else. My mom didn't know to teach me truth. She only knew to teach me the survival skills that were passed on to her by her mother, who taught her how to experience survival skills. So on and on and on and on. For generations, we've been passing down how to survive, not that we are creators of our reality. So the Course in Mind training that the Course in Miracles offers us is an ability to begin to little by little change what we believe until it becomes what we live. So you have to be the living truth, the living waters, whatever you want to call it. You have to be that. And to be that means that you have to accept how powerful you are. And that takes time to go from powerlessness and survival to knowing that you are, infinitely powerful. And you're not here to survive. You're here to express yourself as living truth, living by the truth of who you are, a powerful creator, creating your own reality. So right now, the world is bifurcating. We are shifting from those who want to believe in density and the government takes care of me and idols outside of me. Oh, I wish I was as rich as this one or as pretty as that one. They get to have that experience. And those who are done with that, who've been there, done that, and it's boring. To me, it's very boring to be a victim anymore. It's very boring to entertain fear-based thoughts. It's just like, oh my God, there's my ego talking about limitation. Oh, it makes me sleepy. It's tiring. It's unnecessary at this level because I know truth. I am excited and joyful when I am thinking of creating, but giving my power away, been there, done that. I don't need to do that again. So Course in Miracles in this section, Beyond All Idols, is attempting to get us to understand that we have a function. And it is a function to know the power that is within us, access it in a humble way, connect with God, and understand what God really wants for each and every one of us. One of the things that took me a long time to change my thoughts about was my relationship with God, because I was raised Catholic and God was on a cloud somewhere deciding if I was naughty or nice. And I like Santa Claus. Or the Easter Bunny, because if I was nice, I would get the nice basket. If I was naughty, well, my eggs were empty. I didn't get a prize. So all the same stuff that, around the world we're trained into rewards and punishments. To learn about God and what God is, always will be, I needed to begin to allow myself to bring God off the cloud, bring it closer, bring it closer, bring it closer until it is the presence, the energy, the essence of what I am. This is why Jesus said, I and the Father are one. And of course, in that was in those times. In modern times, if you study some of the teachings of beyond the Course in Miracles that were channeled by Jesus, A Course of Love or the Way of Mastery, Jesus speaks to Father, Mother, God. It's all oneness. It's all the energy of masculine, feminine in perfect harmony. So when you get to the place that you're going to learn about God and the power of God within you, you've got to look at the idols that you have placed outside of you and begin to say, no, I'm not going to worship that out there. I am going to come into relationship with that which is in here. So the previous paragraph that we had read was that the thoughts of God don't change. They're always and eternally forevermore about you being an expression of God, a creation of God, so that God can express itself through you and through me to bring love to the world, to bring love to places that have forgotten the truth of who we are. So God is always going to do the same thing, whether it's in this planet, in this dimension, in other planets, in other galaxies. And when we think that this planet is all there is and that we're the most intelligent of all life, we are very deluded. We don't understand the consciousness that this is just one realm of many realms of expression. And this is one of the densest ones, meaning it's one of the not so smart ones, because we still do things like have hunger, have create weapons of mass destruction. We still do things to hurt one another. We still believe in punishment and capital punishment, and we allow hunger. So we are really not the smartest. We are, if anything, the dumbest, in meaning that we have the least access to the truth of who we are based on the conditioning that we have received to forget who we are. So those who are waking up are undoing all of that misinformation. And you cannot ascend if you judge the people who trained you into misinformation. You can only ascend through forgiveness. They didn't know what they were doing. If they're teaching you that you're not what you are, it's because they don't remember who they are. Everybody who remembers who they are teaches only what is true, because we do unto others what we want done unto us. And that is to remind each other. That's why when I see things that happen around the world that could be called disasters or terrible, I sit in sending the frequency of love, reminding those beings in my own way that they are just as powerful as I am, and that help is available to them if they choose to help themselves by not believing their fear-based thoughts. So the thoughts of God are always going to be that way. And at whatever level of density we're at, if we're in the 3-dimensional level of density, where we have to see it to believe it, well, we are only going to experience so much goodness. But if we believe that we are the creators of goodness, then we're going to experience it in the outer world. And as we ascend in consciousness, it won't be so physical. As a matter of fact, we're moving into the 5th dimension where we are going to experience non-physicality. But you can't believe that you exist without a body if you think that the body is real and it's who you are. Your mind has to be conditioned to accepting that you are the energy that animates the body. And when the body transitions, which it will, it has an expiration date. This is the world of impermanence, a world of temporary things. That's why we suffer, because we grasp to things that are temporary. You know, we want to hold on to our youthful beauty. We want to hold on to the house. We want to hold on to the partner. We want to hold on to the job. And those things are temporary. They're meant to come, to have a season, to have a time in our lives, not meant to be forever. But what is meant to be forever is the non-physical energy that you are. And when you know that you're a creator and you're here to create, then you get comfortable knowing I'm creating a temporary experience that's going to have a lot of shifts and changes. So I'm not attached to the things that come and go in my life, because they're no longer idols that I'm attempting to acquire and have define me. So as we let go of the physicality being our reality and move into our non-physical nature and begin to allow ourselves to operate as we did as children in the realm of imagination, what we begin to imagine, like I said, sending love and truth to those who you may not ever even meet. I've been to Maui, but I probably will not. Don't know that I'm going to be going to Maui anytime soon, and probably may not meet some of these people, but I can still send them the ripples of truth because I'm one with them. I know that. So I don't need to be physically near somebody to know that I'm one with them. So the more that we move into those higher dimensions of consciousness, the more that I see people empowered. I feel, I imagine what the new earth is going to be like. So that is my reality. This world that is physical is not my reality. This is just where I'm temporarily focused and having an experience here. And yes, I love my friends and my grandchildren, or my grandchild, and well, one is on the way, so soon my grandchildren. Well, I love that one too. So I am enjoying all of this, but this is my reality is that I am non-physical. So my reality is about maintaining my open imagination like I did as a child, in that higher frequency that I came in at, so that I can let that be my reality, not the physicality and external things. So Course in Miracles tells us that when you know God, then you know the truth of who you are. I'm going to read what it says here. Who knows the Father knows this light, for he is the eternal sky that holds its safe, forever lifted up and anchored sure. When you understand that God is love, God is light, non-physicality is pure light. When you know God, you know the light, and you know you are that light, and that light is safe forevermore. Nothing is going to happen to that light. You just come in and out of conscious awareness that you are the light or you are the density. You are non-physical or you are physically focused. For a while, I call my teachings a bridge that help take people from third dimensional thinking, egoic based, dense separation, to that we are non-physical, we are one, we are light. That transition is what these beautiful teachings are all about. So if you are still worshiping things outside of you to keep you safe, keep you healthy, keep you wealthy, keep you feeling like you're important, you're somebody, looking for love outside of yourself, then you are going to suffer, because those things move. They're impermanent. They're going to come and go. And God, creative source, uses everything as an opportunity to teach us to remember truth. So when it is time, when you get a little too comfortable holding on to something, grasping for something outside of you, it's going to shift. Somehow, some way, it's going to shift. That's what's happening to this world right now. Things are shifting drastically to shake as many people awake as possible. Why? Because we made an agreement. I'm going to come down. Those of you who remember, please help me, who has forgotten. So massive things are going to be happening to wake up as many people as possible. So in today's paragraph, this is just so beautiful. Beyond all idols is the thought God holds of you. And you have to be willing to understand, to believe that God holds thoughts of you. And again, you've got to train yourself, train your mind to think new ideas of God, not the ones that were fear-based when you were little. So, and those things happen, they happen how they happen. For me, it happened through an experience where I just had that Kundalini awakening, and I got to know the truth of who I am in 2007. I feel it when I'm in nature. I feel it in the presence of certain people. I feel it when I'm quiet in my own meditation. I feel what God really is. So we all feel it when we feel it. But when you begin to use the irritation that I call the invitation, to see how your ego has you attached to an external idol, and you come and you contrast the fear that you feel of losing the idol and the peace that you feel when you acknowledge God within, you begin to have that contrast that helps you choose more the truth of who you are. So beyond all idols, when you know that there is nothing out there that has power to save you, to make you happy, to complete you, to do anything for you, beyond all those idols is the thought that God holds of you. So what am I without all those things? I am pure eternal consciousness. I am love. I am light, expressing itself as me. And so are you, expressing yourself as you. When you come to acknowledge that as your truth, as your reality, you will be able to navigate the comings and the goings of the outer world of form more easily, because you'll be grounded in a truth that is unshakable. These are the teachings that say, build your house on rock, not on sand. We've built a house on sand in the shifting of the outer world, because when everything is determined by the interest rate, by the price of the house or the stock market or blah, 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 your house is built on sand. Why? Because you don't control that. That shifts and changes. And when we have beings who operate at low frequency, meaning that they're operating in separation and think they know better, they're the bullies and they get to tell us what to do, they control those things. They operate in ways that have those things shift to benefit them. Remember, I said the ego is service to self. And we have a lot of people in positions of power who are service to self. Go listen to politicians speaking, promise one thing here, but don't deliver. Say that they are that they don't do anything wrong, but yet we see all the accountable, the ways that they have benefited themselves and their families financially. Service to self is, for the most part, the beings that we have worshiped as idols. So we are at a place in time where we have to let go of worshiping outside, come to know the truth of who we are, because until you're grounded solidly in the truth of who you are, you will suffer when those idols fall. And they are falling, because those who wanted to ascend to a higher frequency cannot take density with them. We've got to drop it. Like in a hot air balloon, you got to cut the weights of the sandbags that hold you down. So we've got to cut the weights of the sandbags that hold us into the third dimension frequency, so we can rise and ascend to the higher frequency. So beyond all of this human egoic stuff is the thought that God holds of you, which is eternal and forevermore. So completely unaffected by the turmoil and terror of this 3D world, the dreams of birth and death that are here, that are dreamed, so that temporariness of coming and going, the myriad of forms that fear can take, quite undisturbed, the thought of God holds of you remains exactly as it always was. So you are the eternal being who is moving through a temporary experience. You must train your mind to think with the truth of who you are, so you can let go of your attachments to the things that are going to come and go, that are filled with fear, that are based on terror, that are based on limitation, on lack, on competition. You've got to let go of that being true, meaning you've got to find your inner truth, because the outer world is going through a massive shakeup to wake up as many as want to move on to another dimension. And many of us signed up for it. And so much of what is happening is to wake up those who are just a little bit more dense in their sleep, to shake them awake, because the simple ways of trying to wake them up, the thump on the head, or the maybe hit by a stick or a 2x4 is not enough. The Mack truck is not enough. The death of a family member, the loss of their job, maybe those are not enough to wake some people up. They still believe in fear and lack and limitation, and they're holding on to idols. Well, those idols are going to be shaken, because we agreed as a family, as a consciousness, that we were entering into a third dimension, and we were going to assist in the awakening of humanity. Everybody doesn't have to wake up, but the majority have to have an opportunity to awaken, because that's the agreement that we made. And as the timelines bifurcate, those who want to ascend will have an experience, because the experience is internally. And then, of course, that gets created externally. The communities are being built that are of collaboration, of cooperation, of truth, of transparency. The healing that comes with nature, that is not about making money. It's about putting people first. Those communities are there. We are building them. And this side, who is still holding on to the old trappings of the outer world, well, it's crumbling, but some are still going to want to stay there. And we are creators of our own reality, so everybody gets to experience what they want. This is why it's really important that as you move down this path, you don't feel sorry for anybody, because not a single soul is going to be hurt ever, because every soul is eternal, and it will always be exactly as God created it to be, which is pure love, pure light, having temporary experiences. So somebody who chooses to stay in the density of the ego, that is a choice being made at the soul level. Now, as children, we are innocent, and we get conditioned by unconscious parents. So many of us recognize that we want to change systems to allow for the children not to be brought into such low density, because in a way, they choose to become humans and believe in egoic things, but it doesn't have to mean that they have no other options. So many things are going to be shifting to provide options while we are in physical form that we didn't have before, because we have agreed to do everything we can to help each other wake up. But not to judge those who want to stay asleep, because so many opportunities are going to be given to us that anybody who can see through what's happening now does not want to wake up. And we have this decade to make that choice. 2020, we call that seeing perfect vision, right? Humans call that, if you have 2020 vision, you see clearly. This is a decade for those who want to wake up to see what is happening that keeps them asleep. And if they don't want to wake up at the end of this decade, if you move into 2030s and you are choosing to believe in idols and that the outside has power, is because you don't want to wake up. Respect those who want to continue to operate in separation. But those who are attempting to wake up, it is our duty as loving beings to do everything we can to be the example of what it looks like when we commit to the process of awakening. So, surrounded by a stillness so complete that no sound of battle comes remotely near, it rests in certainty and perfect peace. The truth of who you are is inside of you. Nothing outside can shake it. Once you are not identified with what the outside thinks of you, and you come inside and you're fully identified with how God created you, as it says in here, surrounded by a stillness so completely that the outside noises, the screaming, the wailing, the shiny lights, the calling you, oh, come do this, that is not going to affect you. Nothing that is happening in the outside will come remotely near to the peace that you will feel on the inside, because you will rest in certainty of who you are. And from that place, you experience perfect peace because you know yourself as one with all that is. You know you're eternal. You're not identified with the body anymore. You're not identified with your stuff, with your bank account. Those things become inconsequential. Part of the game, part of the fun, part of the role that you're playing, but not defining who you are. Therefore, when they come and go, they do not affect your inner peace. Here is your one reality kept safe, completely unaware of all the world that worships idols and that knows not God. See, my role as a grandmother is to help my little grandson remember God. My daughter and her husband are doing everything they can to help this little boy always know that he is powerful, that he has a say, that his parents are not going to override his decision making, that they are going to support him, yes, guiding him, because in the world of form, there are things that will hurt the body, that will cause a cut or a bruise or a burn. So they're doing everything they can to make sure that he remains as safe as possible physically, while at the same time letting him know that internally is his source of power. And I am so delighted that I moved here so that I can witness these two young parents who are doing the best possible job of parenting as consciously as they possibly can. So it is so beautiful to see that there are communities of people who think that way. So the schools that are being created, be they the homeschool networks or whatever it is, or even physical schools that promote that, is to give those souls who incarnated a chance to not get pulled down so far into lies and remain at the level of truth as much as possible until they're old enough to make decisions for themselves. So this is just wonderful. So you come to know God within you, you're going to find the peace that passes all understanding, and the outside as it crumbles is not going to affect you. Not that it's not going to have an impact on maybe on where you live or what you do, but it's not going to shake your peace. And when your peace is not shaken, you have access to hearing what God wants to transmit to you and through you. So in perfect sureness of its changelessness, meaning of the truth of who you are, and of its rest in its eternal home, the thought God holds of you has never left the mind of its creator, whom it knows, as its creator knows that it is there. Let me translate this for you. In certainty, you come to the place of knowing. This is how you can tell somebody who's fully awake in the dream of separation versus somebody who's in the process of awakening. There is a certainty of who they know themselves to be. While you're awakening, you're learning of the truth of who you are. When you're awake, that is your certainty for you and for everybody else. There is nobody that is higher or lesser than you. All are equal, and all are equal and powerful because you have come to know that there is only one substance, and it is what God is. God is the substance that makes everything. And when your alignment is with that substance, and that substance made a decision to create you, have you come from it, then you know you're eternal. Then you know the peace. Then you know you are changeless. That is your eternal home, in that certainty. And then the thought of God, or the thought that God holds of you, knowing that that substance wanted to experience itself as you. Now you rest in a place of certainty that you are in the mind of this creative source, that God is the infinite creator, because it's pure imagination. It is a magi, it is a magician, having all kinds of opportunities to create through experiences, illusions that have us think that we are real on this planet, when at the same time we're real in other dimensions beyond this planet. So when the mind is no longer identified and focused on this smallness of who you are, and you expand your awareness to knowing that you're all that is, and you're everywhere at once, you tap into the higher frequencies of love, the higher frequencies of truth. You imagine with a level of certainty, of clarity, that is possible beyond this realm, that is not possible in, or that is not available in this realm, because this is a realm of contraction. And when you can step back and go, there's expansion there, contraction here, and you're bored with the contraction, you're tired of not having enough, not getting by, blah, 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 blah. When you're bored with the nonsense of warring and hunger, you then open yourself up to receiving ways of doing things that are in service to the greater good, from a much, much more beautiful, expansive, in service to the greater good for all. What you do it for all, because you know you are one with all that is. That's why doing unto others as you'd like them to do unto you becomes common. Selfishness, greed, all those things go away, because they're unnecessary to one who knows that you are contributing to the co-creation of the reality you want to experience. Not because this one's bad and you're judging it, but because this one is boring and you're done with it. That kind of rhymed. Guess I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. So that is what this beautiful transmission of the teachings, that I am in awe. I am in awe of everything that continues to flow through me, because the more that I open myself to the unknown, the more that was unknown to me, is unknown to me, flows to me. And I don't want to operate in repetitive nonsense that I learned from the outer world. I want to operate in the fresh newness that is coming through the creative source of all that is. And if God is all that is, and all I know is this little point of information that is in my little mind, it's a little dot, why would I shut myself off from the 99.9999999% of information that is beyond what I know? I have learned to not be so arrogant to think that I know everything, when I really truly am ignorant of the 99.9999% of possibilities that are available. And in that remaining curious about what more is there, oh my goodness, amazing ideas keep flowing. And it's just fun. It's just fun and exciting. And it's fun and exciting having friends like you who commit to staying aware and open to infinite possibilities, to not knowing what anything is for, and at the same time knowing that it is all for a very specific reason, to come here and experience contraction and limitation until those who have agreed to help us remember at whatever degree of remembering that we need. Do we need to lose it all to remember? Do we need to lose a little bit to remember? Do we need a little, knock on the door to remember? Or do we need a massive Mack truck to hit us to remember? It's all good. It's all okay. because the thought that God holds of you is never going to change who you truly are. All right. Unmute yourselves if you want to share, if you got any nuggets or anything that you might want to share. And if not, as always, we'll see you next time. But if this has touched you in any way, shape, or form, share it. Share it with others so that others can receive the truth that keeps you, a part of the truth that keeps you informed. But anyhow, all right. So if you are new to this, if you watch this and you've never seen it before, the entire library, this is episode 119, meaning I've been doing this for many years, once a week on Wednesdays, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The links are always on my Facebook page. You can find them also on my YouTube, Laina Orlando. And if you like these transmissions, then there's many more things that I offer on my YouTube channel. Love you all so much. All right. Nobody's going to unmute. A couple of you have dropped off. We will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.